You feel behind in life, not dramatically, not in a way that you talk about openly, but in a quiet, familiar way that sits somewhere inside your chest and follows you through the day. You wake up with it, you go to sleep with it, and between those moments, it whispers. Everyone else seems to be moving forward, faster, smoother, more confidently than you. People your age are building stable careers, starting families, finding purpose, and creating lives that look organized and intentional. And you're doing your best. You really are. You're trying to show up. But no matter what you do, there's this subtle pressure, almost like a weight on your shoulders, that says, you're not where you should be. And that thought, that quiet, persistent belief, hurts more than you admit. It makes you question your pace, your choices, your direction, your worth. But here's what most people never understand. This feeling of being behind has almost nothing to do with your actual progress in life. It doesn't come from reality. It doesn't come from your achievements. And it definitely doesn't come from some universal timeline that you're supposed to follow. It comes from something deeper, something your mind does automatically, something you didn't choose, and something you're not even aware of. And until you understand what that is, you will continue to feel behind, even if your life is moving at exactly the pace it's meant to. Most people think the feeling of being behind comes from their circumstances. They believe it's because they didn't choose the right career, or didn't move fast enough, or missed opportunities that others somehow saw more clearly. But that's not where it starts. Not really. This feeling begins much earlier and much deeper in the way your mind interprets your life. Because your brain doesn't compare you to your past. It compares you to an imagined version of who you think you should be by now. And that imagined version is built from thousands of tiny influences you didn't choose. The expectations you absorbed growing up. The timelines you saw other people follow. The silent pressure to have it all figured out. And the constant stream of curated lives that convince you you're moving too slowly. So when you feel behind, you're not actually comparing yourself to reality. You're comparing yourself to a timeline that was never yours in the first place. And because that timeline feels so real, so familiar, so deeply woven into how you think about yourself, your mind treats it as a standard you're supposed to meet. That's why the feeling is so heavy, so personal, so persistent. It's not about your progress. It's not about your pace. It's not even about your choices. It's about a mental benchmark that no human being could ever keep up with. Because it wasn't built for you. It was built around you. And until you see that clearly, until you understand where that pressure really comes from, your mind will keep convincing you that you're behind, even when your life is unfolding exactly as it should. There are a few psychological traps that almost guarantee you will feel behind in life, even if you're not, and the first one is the comparison trap. But it's not the comparison you're thinking of. It's not jealousy. It's not wishing you had someone else's life. It's the subtle, automatic comparison your mind makes every time you see someone achieve something that you haven't yet. Your brain doesn't register the full story. It doesn't see the years of confusion, the doubts, the setbacks, the quiet nights where they questioned everything. It only sees the moment of arrival, the visible part, the measurable part, the part they show. So your mind compares your entire journey to someone else's highlight moment. And of course, you feel behind. Anyone would. The second trap is the misunderstanding of timing. We grow up thinking life unfolds in a straight line. Milestones that appear at the correct age, in the correct order, with the correct pace. But real life doesn't work like that. It moves in cycles, phases, seasons of acceleration, and seasons of stillness. Your mind, however, believes that stillness means failure. It believes that slowing down means you're doing something wrong. So instead of resting, you panic. Instead of reflecting, you rush. Instead of trusting the timing of your life, you assume you're falling behind it. And there's a third trap, a deeper, quieter one. The belief that progress should feel like progress, but most growth doesn't feel inspiring. It feels confusing, uncertain, uncomfortable. The moments when you feel lost, the moments when nothing is clear, the moments when you doubt everything. Those are often the moments when your life is actually shifting the most. But because it doesn't feel good, your mind interprets it as evidence that you're not moving at all. 3 traps, all invisible, all automatic, all powerful enough to convince you that you're behind, even when you're exactly where you need to be. We're taught to celebrate progress only when it's visible, only when it looks impressive, only when someone else can point to it and say, "Look, you've achieved something." But the truth is, most of your real progress happens quietly. It happens in the moments when nothing looks different on the outside, but everything is shifting on the inside. It happens when you're learning to let go of old expectations, when you're questioning beliefs you used to treat as facts, when you're slowly unlearning the pressure to meet timelines that were never yours. This kind of growth doesn't come with applause. It doesn't come with validation. It doesn't come with proof you can show someone else. But emotionally, psychologically, and sometimes spiritually, it changes your entire direction. Slow progress isn't a sign that you're falling behind. Slow progress is a sign that you're rebuilding something properly, carefully, deeply. Because the parts of your life that take the longest to grow are always the parts that matter the most. A rushed identity doesn't last. A rushed purpose doesn't satisfy. A rushed transformation doesn't hold. But when your growth is slow, when it's intentional, when it's grounded in self-awareness instead of panic, you're not just moving forward. You're moving forward in the right direction. And even if you can't see the results yet, even if the people around you don't notice anything changing, your life is quietly realigning itself. Not at the speed of your fears, but at the speed of what's actually good for you. Feeling behind assumes there is a single path that everyone is supposed to follow, a universal timeline, a shared schedule for growth, healing, success, identity, purpose, relationships, everything. But that timeline doesn't exist. It never did. Human lives are not synchronized. We are not meant to develop at the same speed, want the same things, or reach the same milestones in the same order. Yet somewhere along the way, you were taught that there's a right pace, and that, if your life doesn't match it, you're falling behind. But think about it. Some people discover their passion at 12, others at 52. Some meet the love of their life in college. Others meet them after a divorce, a career change, a relocation, or a complete reinvention of who they are. Some people rise quickly and burn out quietly. Others rise slowly and build something that lasts. But none of them are behind. None of them are late. None of them missed their moment. They are simply living a life that unfolds at their pace. The pace required for their personality, their healing, their experiences, their nervous system, their losses, their lessons, their potential. Your life isn't late. Your growth isn't late. Your journey isn't late. It's yours. And the idea that you're behind comes only from comparing yourself to someone else's story instead of recognizing the extraordinary complexity of your own. Once you see this clearly, once you understand that there is no universal timeline to follow, you stop rushing, you stop panicking, you stop assuming you're losing, and for the first time, you start feeling present in your actual life. Not the imaginary one you thought you were supposed to be living. Even after you understand that the feeling of being behind isn't based on reality, it can still follow you. And that's because of a few hidden behaviors, patterns you don't notice, but that quietly reinforce the belief that you're not doing enough. The first one is constant mental forecasting. Your mind jumps into the future, imagining everything that could go wrong if you don't catch up right now. It tries to predict outcomes, pressure you into urgency, and convince you that every slow moment is a threat to your future. But living in the future will always make the present feel insufficient. The second behavior is discounting your progress. You achieve something small, but your mind immediately tells you it's not enough. You take a step forward, but you dismiss it because it doesn't look big or dramatic or worthy of mentioning. So you move forward, but emotionally, you stay in the same place. The third hidden behavior is over-identifying with productivity. Somewhere along the way, you learned that your worth comes from how much you get done. So when you slow down, or rest, or pause to think, your mind interprets it as evidence that you're falling behind. Not because you actually are, but because you tied your value to constant motion. And there's one more behavior, the quietest one. You ignore your internal pace. You push through exhaustion, bypass your intuition, and force yourself to move faster than your mind or body can handle. And when you inevitably struggle to keep up, you assume it's because you're failing, not because the pace was never sustainable to begin with. All of these behaviors create the illusion that you're behind even when you're not. But once you start noticing them, once you understand how they shape your perception, you can finally separate your actual life from the distorted version your mind keeps replaying. Once you recognize the beliefs and behaviors that make you feel behind, something important happens. You gain the space to choose a different pace. A pace that actually belongs to you. Not the pace you absorbed from what everyone else is doing. Not the pace driven by pressure, fear, or comparison. Not the pace you forced yourself into because you thought that's what a successful person should look like. Your real pace is quieter than that. It shows up in the moments when you stop rushing and suddenly feel yourself exhale. It shows up when you move slowly, but your mind feels clear. It shows up when a task takes longer than you expected, but you don't feel guilty for giving it the time it needs. Your real pace is the one where your nervous system doesn't feel like it's being chased. It's the pace where your attention isn't scattered, where your decisions aren't panicked, where you can hear yourself think without the background noise of, "I should be further by now." And here's the truth most people never hear. Your life actually expands when you slow down. Your perspective widens, your creativity returns, your emotional clarity improves, your ability to choose intentionally becomes stronger. Because when you're no longer sprinting to catch up with an imaginary timeline, you finally have the mental space to understand who you are and what you truly want. Your growth becomes deeper. Your decisions become wiser. Your direction becomes clearer. Not because you moved faster, but because you moved at the speed that your life was asking for. And once you feel that, once you experience what it's like to live at your actual pace, the idea of being behind starts to lose its meaning entirely. When you stop rushing and finally meet yourself at your real pace, something shifts internally. You start questioning the values you've been carrying your whole life, because many of them weren't chosen by you. They were inherited, absorbed, picked up quietly from family expectations, school systems, peer pressure, social norms, or the culture you grew up in. And for years, you might have been measuring yourself against values that were never yours to begin with. Success defined by speed, worth defined by productivity, happiness defined by milestones, identity defined by comparison. But when life slows down enough for you to hear your own thoughts, you begin to wonder, do I actually want the things I've been chasing? And this question can feel both uncomfortable and liberating, because you may realize that some dreams were never your dreams. Some goals were never aligned with you. Some timelines were never meant for you. You may discover that the things you truly value are quieter, simpler, more human, deep relationships instead of constant achievement, meaningful work instead of impressive work, rest instead of overextension, presence instead of perfection. And sometimes the life you thought you wanted was built on values you outgrew a long time ago. This isn't failure. This is awareness. It's the moment you stop living on borrowed definitions of success and purpose and begin choosing your own. When you reevaluate your values, you stop asking, "Am I behind?" and start asking, "Is this truly mine?" And suddenly, your life becomes less about catching up and more about aligning with what feels honest, steady, and deeply meaningful to you. When you begin living at a pace that actually belongs to you, something even more powerful happens. You stop fighting yourself. For years, you may have been at war with your own needs, your own limits, your own internal rhythm. You pushed through exhaustion because you thought that's what strong people do. You ignored your fatigue because you didn't want to seem slow. You dismissed your emotions because they didn't fit the timeline you were chasing. But living like that creates a quiet form of self-abandonment. You begin treating your mind as an obstacle, your body as an inconvenience, your emotions as a problem to get rid of. And without noticing, you become someone who's constantly trying to override themselves. But when your pace slows, when the pressure softens, when you stop running long enough to hear what's happening inside, your relationship with yourself begins to change. You start listening to your body instead of overpowering it. You start respecting your limits instead of treating them like weaknesses. You stop forcing motivation and start cultivating clarity. And for the first time in a very long time, you begin to feel safe inside your own life. Not rushed, not judged, not evaluated, just allowed to be human. This is where healing happens. Not in perfection, not in discipline alone, not in speed, but in the moment you finally give yourself permission to stop fighting who you are and start supporting who you're becoming. And once you feel what it's like to live without that internal battle, you realize how much energy you were losing just by being at war with yourself every single day. Letting go of that fight doesn't make you weaker, it makes you whole. You don't have to transform your entire life in one breakthrough moment. You don't need a perfect routine or endless discipline or a sudden wave of motivation that carries you for months. You only need one thing: a willingness to meet yourself exactly where you are right now. Because real change never begins with force. It begins with honesty, with noticing the pace that feels natural to your mind, with paying attention to the signals your body has been trying to send you for years. You don't have to live in constant urgency. You don't have to prove your worth by how fast you move or how much you get done. You're allowed to build a life that feels like yours, not a life built from pressure, comparison, or fear of falling behind. And here's the truth most people never hear. When you finally stop rushing yourself, you don't become less productive. You become more intentional, more steady, more aligned. You create progress that actually lasts. So if something in this video resonated with you, even one sentence, take it as a sign, a quiet invitation to slow down, to breathe, to choose one small change that brings you closer to the life you want. Not tomorrow, not someday, but today. You are not behind. You are not late. You are simply arriving into a version of yourself that moves with more care, more clarity, and more compassion than before. And that, on its own, is a powerful beginning.